For over 1,000 years, Western civilization has been stuck in a dark age of sexual repression and misinformation. We get an oversexed overload from the media, but nothing in the way of honest, helpful, practical information on sex and how to do it right. That sucks, and I'm fucking sick of it. My name's JV Altheras, and I've spent a couple decades learning everything I can about how to have amazing sex and more of it. Not in a classroom like a lot of people who talk about sex. I learned it all in the gutter, right where Mom told me I'd end up. It's my mission to bring an end to the sexual dark age with brutally honest talk and education on all aspects of sex and sexuality, in an atmosphere that will keep you entertained without treating you like an idiot. Shara and I are not doctors. Certifiable, perhaps, but not certified in any way. And that means we don't have to talk about vaginas and penises to maintain academic credibility. You got a problem with a vagina? Call a gynecologist. You want to learn more about pussies and cocks and how to make them happy? You've come to the right place. Ending the Sexual Dark Age is now sponsored by the internet's most trusted name in adult toys. A happy pussy likes to play more often. AdamandEve.com is offering you guys half off on your choice of thousands upon thousands of vibrators and dildos and cock rings and strap-ons, nipple clamps, porn DVDs, butt plugs, pocket pussies, anything else you can imagine to either get yourself off or have some fun with your playmate. As always, we highly recommend making sex toys part of your sex life, and right now, AdamandEve.com is only asking for one chance to impress you. They're offering an awesome deal in support of ending the sexual dark age, and the whole thing goes a little like this. By typing Dark Age, all one word, for the offer code at checkout, you will get 50% off the most expensive item in your cart, with a few exceptions, free shipping, 3 free porn DVDs, and a sexy free mystery gift. Free DVDs are selected randomly and added to your order before they ship. AdamandEve.com is willing to damn near pay you to get off. So stop by, enter DARKAGE at checkout, and proceed to collect on an awesome deal. Or just follow one of the links on sexualdarkage.com. Welcome to episode 34, during which we'll discuss the joys and proper practices of ass fucking. I think this is going to be a fun show, because as I said the other day, how can you not have fun talking about butt fucking? I mean, seriously. Anal sex has been around since the first caveman looked at his cave girl's ass and realized his cock would fit in there. Its popularity has varied widely across different periods in history and various cultures, but it's always been around and it's here to stay. There are a lot of pleasure receptors inside the ass, and when done right, anal can produce powerful orgasms for men or women. In addition, a guy's prostate is just a couple inches in, behind a thin wall of flesh, so you can directly stimulate it. Massaging the prostate is so effective in producing male orgasms that it's how horses and bulls are milked for jizz. That's right, somebody puts on a shoulder-length rubber glove and goes to work. Like any other sex act, doing it right requires a little knowledge, a bunch of patience, and a willingness to practice. Plus, either a willingness to have things stuck in your ass or a desire to do it to someone else. Also, like any other sex act, if you try it and don't like it, nobody's going to make you do it again. A lot of women genuinely wonder why guys would want to fuck their asses in the first place, considering they've got 2 other perfectly good holes, neither of which is a shit dispenser. This is a simple question with a kind of complicated answer. Actually, there are a lot of reasons, which will influence different guys to varying degrees. The first and most obvious is, a cock will fit in there. Girls, if it was practical to fuck you in the ear, we'd want to do that too. It's just how we're built. There's a lot of psychology that goes into that, though. Evolution built guys to conquer and mark territory. When we claim a woman, we want to fuck her anywhere and everywhere a cock will fit, and that includes the ass. Even if she ends up not liking it and not wanting to do it again, in a guy's mind, getting his cock in there in the first place, even once, is a notable accomplishment. We really do love your other 2 holes. And anal isn't something most guys want all the time, even if it's available all the time. So opening your mind to opening your ass isn't going to completely change your sex life on a day-to-day basis. But the fact that a guy can have your ass when he really wants it does count for something to him on a day-to-day basis, so you should be aware of that too. There's also ego and pride mixed in there. Most women don't give up their asses to every guy that they fuck, so getting in there is like VIP access, and everybody likes to feel like a VIP. Also, just like a mouth feels different than a pussy, anal sex is a distinct and unique sensation for a guy. A nice clean ass is like fucking wet silk. And there's this way it grabs onto the crown that a pussy just is not built to duplicate. Some women absolutely love anal, and many say that coming from anal is a different kind of orgasm for them. Better or worse is obviously a your mileage may vary type thing in this case, but definitely different. There are a lot of pleasure nerves in the ass, and I've known quite a few women that got off really hard on anal, but had to stimulate their clits during vaginal sex. There are also plenty of women who absolutely cannot stand having something the size of a cock shoved in their ass. I've known several who love small butt plugs and fingers but could not handle something as big as a cock without severe discomfort. Everyone's body is built a little differently, so this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Guys should remember that for a lot of women, their first and maybe only experience with anal happened one of two ways. One is some guy shoving his cock in there without giving her any warning at all. For most people, this will guarantee a bad first experience and possibly a permanently negative outlook on anal. The other is the old, I accidentally stuck it in the wrong hole maneuver. Now, I've had way more than my fair share of pussy. I've fucked while fucked up on all kinds and all amounts of mind-altering substances. And to this day, I have never accidentally stuck my dick in a woman's ass when I was aiming for the hole next door. I'm not saying it couldn't possibly happen, but I consider reports of accidental anal to be highly suspicious. And I suspect a lot of cases are guys trying to use a lame excuse for sticking it in there on purpose without giving her any warning first. So if you got a girl who's reluctant to give up her ass, have the conversation and find out if she's had specific bad experiences. Getting her comfortable that you want to do it right and you're going to treat her right will go a long way toward opening her mind. Now, when you start talking about anal sex, you've got to assume that things might get a little shitty now and again. Literally. Let's be real, you're talking about fucking an orifice whose primary function is squeezing out turds. Some guys genuinely have zero interest in anal, and this is one of the reasons. The only way to really guarantee a clean hole to play with is an enema prior to play. The only reason you don't see willies with skid marks in every anal porn shot is that there was probably either an enema and or a period of fasting for the actress before the cameras rolled. If you're talking about doing your first experimentation with anal, an enema beforehand might be a hard sell. More likely, you'll need to make peace with the potential skid mark or two and just have a damp cloth handy to wipe both of you up afterwards. Any squeamishness on this aspect of ass fucking can be mitigated with condoms, which can play a healthy role in anal for a number of reasons, even if you're fluid bonded with your playmate. So if you're not using some kind of cleansing process, exercise good judgment. The morning after the all-you-can-eat Mexican buffet might not be a great time for anal. Since we always try to stress happy, healthy sex, it's important to note that the tissue inside the ass is way more fragile than the pussy. Think about the two holes guys usually have access to. One is designed to handle habanero peppers if you're so inclined. The other is designed to get pounded by cock and shoot out babies. As a result, they're both made of fairly durable stuff. Not so beyond the brown eye. Some amount of bleeding is more likely with anal because the tissue is more fragile and thus more likely to tear when you stick anything in there. As a result, I highly recommend very gentle treatment for any ass kind enough to invite you inside. It's not a pussy, and if you treat it like one, you're probably going to end up breaking something. Anytime you're dealing with an increased risk of bleeding, you have an increased risk of spreading any disease that might be present, so condoms for anal aren't a terrible idea on general principle. A note of warning, as with any condom use, you want to avoid petroleum-based lubricants because they'll dissolve the condom, and also tend to be an irritant. You might be surprised to know that spermicides can also cause severe irritation and bad reactions in the ass, so use condoms and lubes that do not contain spermicides. Regardless, don't skimp on the lube. Use lots, like when you think, that might be too much, you probably got it right. The ass doesn't have any glands to produce its own lubrication like the pussy and mouth do, so you've got to bring it yourself and reapply frequently. Condoms are also statistically more likely to break during anal, and extra lube can basically eliminate that risk. Likewise, there's a miniature form of the condom called a finger cot that's used in first aid. That's COT. As you might imagine, it's a baby condom designed to protect wounds on your fingers. I first encountered them as a teenager working in restaurants and went home with a pocket full. Because the ass is tender, even a sharp corner of a fingernail can cause a lot of discomfort. Finger cots give you the control and sensitivity of using your fingers for ass play while keeping a disease and sharp fingernail barrier in place. If you've got any cuts or unhealed scrapes, finger cots also help prevent the spread of disease. Yes, if you stick an open wound into an asshole, it can get infected. Finger cots are available at any decent pharmacy in the first aid aisle, and nobody will look at you funny at the register. Well, I would, but I'd know. On the topic of disease, we talked about ass-to-pussy sex on a listener mail episode a while back, and it's worth revisiting that here. Pulling something out of an ass and sticking it into any other hole without a thorough cleaning is a bad idea. A digestive system is a one-way street, and there's all kinds of horrible acids and nasty bacteria that are there to do their jobs, but they are not supposed to be anywhere else, and can cause real problems if they get introduced to other parts of the body. Serious bacterial infections that can cause severe discomfort and a trip to the doctor at best. One place it's easy to find ass to pussy and ass to mouth is in porn, or at least what looks like ass to pussy and ass to mouth. As always, we have to take a step back and look at porn for what it is: directed, produced, scripted to some extent, and heavily edited. I mentioned earlier that enemas and/or fasting are common prep for an anal porn shoot. As a result, if you see actual unedited musical holes involving the ass, bear in mind that the ass in question is about as clean as an asshole can possibly get. Any risk of disease has been minimized by thorough cleaning. The other thing to keep in mind is that in plenty of cases there's a cock washing in between holes that ends up on the cutting room floor. So bareback musical holes can look hot or even be hot to fantasize about, but in practice it is not a health-conscious way to play, so we do not recommend it. While we're on the subject of anal porn, I'd like to go on record as being against the gaping asshole shots that a lot of directors seem to feel are necessary. I mean, really, a close-up of an asshole that looks like it's been hollowed out by a baseball bat. I just don't think that's sexy. Theoretically, porn is supposed to turn you on. Every time I see one of those shots, I just think, wow, that's blown out for the evening. Anyway, there are multiple ways to use condoms for musical holes that I think are just as hot. One listener recently suggested a female condom in the ass so you can just jump from one hole to the other, which is an excellent idea I have not quite got around to trying, but I will. You can also throw on a fresh raincoat every time you switch into the ass and just take it off before going back in the pussy. That might sound like a hassle, but really it's not, as long as you got a few condoms laying around. More on this later when I can watch Shara blushing. It was a fun weekend. One common myth about anal sex, perpetuated by authors who know not of what they write, is that it's supposed to hurt or that it's normal for it to hurt the first few times. If you're doing it right, anal sex shouldn't be painful or cause severe discomfort. If it does, you need to take a close look at exactly what you're doing wrong. Every asshole is different. Some people have no problem at all with a cock plowing right in there. Others need some prep and stretching with fingers and/or toys in order to comfortably take anything the size of a cock. If you're starting to experiment with anal, this is one more aspect of sexuality that benefits from taking things slow and steady with lots and lots of lube. Again, because the inside of the ass is way more fragile than a pussy, it's more sensitive to friction. Friction can lead to tears, bleeding, and the severe discomfort that will come along with them. If you're just getting started with anal, I'd suggest using fingers and small toys to see how you react to them. And working yourself up to a cock on any given night can just be another part of the play to enjoy. If you don't mind the investment, there are also inflatable butt plugs that go in very small with an air bulb, like what you see on a blood pressure cuff, that allows you to make them bigger one gentle squeeze at a time. Another big factor that contributes to pain or discomfort is tension. The more relaxed you are, the more likely you are to enjoy it. If you tense up and clench every muscle in your body because you're expecting pain, you've got a self-fulfilling prophecy. Being tensed up will pretty much guarantee that it hurts. Shouldn't be surprising that the ass also has a reflex to push things out. I know, imagine. That reflex, just like a gag reflex, is something you can overcome, but it can take some time and practice. The natural pushing reflex can cause pain or discomfort on its own, and people who really enjoy getting fucked in the ass have learned how to control it. There's a great book suggested by Wild Orchid after a recent listener mail topic regarding anal and hemorrhoids. It's called Anal Pleasure and Health by Dr. Jack Morin, and it's basically an in-depth guide to enjoying anal sex. There will be a link to the book on Amazon in the show notes in case you'd like to check it out. And if you're interested in anal play or have never been able to enjoy it, this book might be a lot of help. Another big ass myth, or is that big ass myth? Anyway, is that bleeding after anal is somehow normal or expected. It isn't. A tiny amount of blood isn't anything to panic over, but it indicates that whatever you did to that ass, you treated a little rougher than you should have. Remember, it's not a pussy. Bleeding generally means you stuck something too big in there without preparation, didn't use enough lube, fucked it too hard, or some combination of the three. If it hurts, stop. You're doing something wrong. If you see blood, stop. You're doing something wrong. Talk about it. See if you can figure out how to correct the issue and live to ass fuck again another day. There's a lot of conflicting information out there regarding connections between ass fucking and anal health issues like hemorrhoids, sphincter weakening, and rectal prolapse, which you are free to Google if you want to feel like you need to wash your eyes out with alcohol. The bottom line is that anal sex has never been shown to cause long-term issues when done properly and with proper respect for what you should and shouldn't be doing to an ass in the first place. It's not designed to shoot out babies, and it's not designed to have really big things shoved in it. You also need to be careful what kinds of toys or miscellaneous household goods you shove up anyone's ass. This, I think, is a great time to talk about gerbils. Yes, we've all heard the stories of guys, and for some reason the story is always a gay guy, showing up in an emergency room after having a live gerbil or hamster or mouse or whatnot shoved up their ass. Sometimes these stories are elaborate enough to describe delivery devices like vacuum cleaner extensions or toilet paper tubes. Preparation for this episode, I did more than a little research on the topic, and I'm willing to say that this is an urban legend at this point. The myth is everywhere, but I couldn't find a single article even referencing genuine medical documentation, much less any evidence itself. This feels kind of predictable, and if it didn't before, it should now that you've learned a lot more about the ass. Some frantic rodent with 20 razor-sharp claws would pretty much guarantee you a colostomy bag if you make it to the hospital before you die from sepsis. But while gerbil stuffing seems to be an urban legend, people do regularly show up in emergency rooms to have all kinds of weird shit surgically removed from their assholes. If you know someone who's ever worked in an ER for any period of time, you should ask them. It's a good bet they're going to have stories. And I was able to find plenty of documentation on this particular subject, which I'll now share with you. This is a rather extensive and entertaining list, so I'm just going to go for the highlights. This is based on scholarly review of 182 documented cases of losing control of things stuck where the sun doesn't shine. When you hear some of this shit, you're going to have trouble imagining how it could possibly have gotten so far up someone's ass that there wasn't enough left to pull it out by. And feel free to giggle like a fool. I know I did when reading this list the first time. So, out of 182 surgically removed anal objects, 32 were bottles or jars. 1 bottle with an attached rope. I mean, at least somebody was planning ahead. 12 glasses or cups, and 7 light bulbs. In what universe does that seem like a good idea? In the food category, we have, predictably, a couple of bananas, 4 carrots, cucumbers, onions. Yeah, okay, cucumber, carrot, banana I get, but onion? Nothing about onions says this is going to be easy to get out of an asshole. I'm sorry. Same thing with parsnips, potatoes, a plantain with a condom, a turnip, and a zucchini. Now, in the how was it not long enough to pull back out category, we have an axe handle, 10 sticks or broom handles, and 3 miscellaneous or unspecified objects. In the sex toy category, 23 vibrators and 15 dildos. And from the kitchen, let's see, we have a dull knife, ice pick, mortar pestle, plastic spatula, a spoon and a tin cup, and let's see, flashlight, iron rod, pens, pencils, screwdrivers, toothbrush, a curling iron. I mean, how was there not some cord left to pull it out by? Seriously. 2 baseballs, a tennis ball, a pool cue ball, baby powder can, shampoo bottle, cattle horn, gold chain, toothbrush holder, toothbrush packaging, and 2 whip handles. So at this point, it should go without saying that you shouldn't stick any of that stuff in your ass. Reading over the list, I can honestly say I would have probably come to most of those conclusions all on my own, but obviously some people are really, really adventurous. Most sex toys designed for anal have got some kind of wide base or stopper to prevent them from getting lost in there, for this exact reason. If you decide to try stuffing an ass with something laying around the house, which, I will underline, is often not a very good idea, make sure it isn't something that can go all the way in. Also, if one end is bigger than the other, never stick the big end in first. That way you won't end up in the emergency room as another entry on the list that I just read. The sphincter can close up around the big end and be unable to let go, which is probably how that spatula wound up as an ER visit. Well, guys, I think we might be in trouble already because Shara's laughing and blushing after reading 10 seconds of my notes here.
Well, do you blame me?
Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
So we are talking about anal sex this week.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, so I know you enjoyed your Saturday morning last weekend.
Did I?
Why don't you tell the listeners about your Saturday morning last weekend?
Oh, I don't think I can remember exactly what happened. Let's see. I woke up, and that's all I remember.
Oh, you woke up and that's all you remember, huh?
It's going to be a long episode, even though it might not be. For me, it's going to be a very long episode.
So as I was discussing a little earlier in the show, we were talking about musical holes and using condoms. So Saturday morning.
You surprised me.
Well, Saturday morning,
you
came and crawled back in bed with me, and I fucked you first thing Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was great.
And then we had breakfast. And then I took you in there and tied you to the bed face down with your ass in the air and stuffed a toy in your ass.
If I could just get through this part when you're saying it.
Got you through about, 15 or 20 orgasms with the dildo?
Is that all? I felt like a lot more. I just know that it was like one very long orgasm.
And I happen to, for the record, be one of those fortunate people who has a woman who has a go ahead and just shove it right in there policy when it comes to her ass. You know, she knows I'm not going to do anything horrendous to it. Probably.
Most likely. Although, when you tie me to the bed and, you're exposed there, you never know. You could change your mind and say, she pissed me off this morning. So I always try to make sure I never piss you off.
Now, hang on a second. I don't want people thinking I would be shoving giant things in your ass as punishment or something. If I need to punish you for something or much, I don't like to mix sex and punishment.
No, you don't. And to be honest with you, you really, we're very fortunate in how we get along. So, if we don't agree on something, we just kind of talk about it and, it takes a lot to get you mad.
Right. So what was it you were screaming for the neighbors when I was fucking you?
Oh, come on now. You're going to make me say that?
I am.
I can't remember.
Oh, you can't remember?
You're going to cut out the silence part, right? Because
No, I'm going to let the audience hear the entire silence of you blushing into your hand and trying to avoid the inevitable.
I honestly don't remember because it was one of those moments that I was just having a good time.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you some help then because you're not getting out of this. And you're totally trying to play me, and it's not going to work any better than it usually does.
Oh,
So why?
This is when Aaron talks about what your sign is that I get in so much trouble.
Right there for you, baby. What was it you were screaming for the neighbors?
You're going to make me say it?
I am going to make you say it.
Didn't you already cover this?
Not with you. Right there.
I'm a little anal whore.
That's right. Good girl. See? Was that so hard?
Yes. And it was when you put it in, too.
So anyway, I decided to experiment in preparation for this episode to do the musical holes with condoms thing because I've never done that with you before.
No, you haven't. That surprised me.
Yeah, well, you generally like the ass fucking so much that once I get it in there, you don't want it anywhere else.
They surprised me. I hate that bell.
Yeah, so for the record, she couldn't even tell, and this is not really surprising, she couldn't tell when I first stuck it in her ass that I was wearing a condom.
No, I couldn't.
So I was rather careful to bring all that stuff out after I tied you to the bed.
Yes, you were very good about that. Because you can't
The only thing missing was a mirror behind the bed so I could see your face when I stuck it in.
Yes, because that would have been something to see, I can tell you that. Hate that bell.
Yeah, so we go, twice in the pussy, and then I finished in your ass because that's what you asked for. Which brings us to another important aspect of anal sex that I want to talk about with the listeners. We always try to cover the topic in a well-rounded fashion, and one of the things that is not often covered when you're talking about anal sex is the after effects.
And we do not have to talk about it now if you'd like not to.
No, we do need to talk about it in service to the listeners. We have to talk
What I would really like right now is to have Aaron and Belinda on the phone saying, leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Yeah, because that's what would happen.
Well, Aaron probably wouldn't. Belinda probably wouldn't either. I don't know. I think Aaron, I'm going to go for Aaron would help me out and Belinda would. Yeah.
I think every time we come to this crossroads, it turns out I'm right. I think they would be tremendously entertained. Regardless, they're not on the phone with us, and you're not going to distract me. I can't believe you're still trying to do that after all these years. The fucking subject change. Really?
Come on, can you blame me today? Can you blame me?
Seriously, but it's not fair to try to educate people about anal sex and not talk about the realistic after effects. I mean, there is, there's certainly in many cases a certain amount of running to the bathroom that may.
Well, some people maybe and some people maybe not.
Right. Well, we're talking about your experiences though, because you're the only person in the room that likes to get fucked in the ass.
Oh.
I knew this episode was going to be fun.
Yes, you've been just dying to do this episode. I tried to prolong it as long as I could. Although I was in heaven on Saturday. You put me up there and shoo.
So anyway, circling back around to the topic you're trying to avoid. Now, one of the other good things that you can say about condoms for anal is that coming inside an ass produces a relatively different set of after effects and side effects. It takes a little while for all those swimmers to work their way out. So
it sure does.
Yeah. So what's your general experience after can you do a comparison contrast for anal without cum in your ass and some regular anal where I might finish in a different hole?
Well, for me, okay, I'm going to try and get through this so the poor listeners don't have to listen to that lovely bell. Anyway, for me, when you come in my ass without a condom on, it obviously, this, it doesn't take very long before I'm in the bathroom.
Right.
Because, it's
some of it's coming back out right away.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, it's humiliating. I mean, thank goodness you don't want to come in and stand around because it's kind of humiliating because of the fact that, it's also like letting out some gas at the same time. Not always, but most of the time.
Well, that's one thing that I didn't mention earlier that I want to touch back on. I was talking about the fact that, come on, you're fucking an asshole, so especially if you're like pulling it out repeatedly, you might pack some air up in there and the air's coming back out.
Sure is. And I don't like it. That I do not like at all. But with the condom, that didn't happen. So
really, you didn't get the...
No, not at all.
Interesting.
And for days, I feel like I did an enema or something because it's like for days I have this whole cleansing thing going on and, don't travel too far from the shop and things like that. But this time, it didn't happen with the condom. I was like...
Well, but I did come in your ass when it was all over and done with.
Yes, but for some reason...
Because you begged me to. Isn't that... Can you confirm or deny that for me, please?
I can confirm that.
Thank you.
I hate you. No, I'm just kidding.
I know you hate me, baby. It's my job to be hated.
I hate you with a lot of love. Anyway, so yeah, no, it didn't happen this time. I mean, it did, but not like it would normally. So after we were done with the condom and we came back out and we sat around and then you said, okay, we're going to have some more fun. Even that, it did not affect me until the next day, where normally, it affects me right away. So maybe the condom, and I don't know, this is all new for me, so maybe listeners out there could say, yes, when you wear a condom, there's a delayed reaction or whatever, because it didn't affect me until the next day.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you need another ass fucking, because there's not very much science there.
Well, I guess we'll...
I got a whole box of condoms.
We gotta do it.
I'll sacrifice myself for science.
Well, for the listeners, I want to make sure it's done right and proper reporting.
So, what was your first experience with anal?
It was with you. It was my first experience.
Wait, really?
Really? I thought we talked about that.
We must have. Because
yes.
I would have made note of that. Now that I'm thinking back,
I can remember
sitting in these chairs with this microphone in front of us and talking about this before, but
I can remember being in high school and my girlfriend and I were hanging out with these group of guys and I was dating one of them and she was dating another one, and so we went back to the one guy's place and I could hear them getting it on, and afterwards when we left, she's like, have you ever been fucked in the ass? And I said no. Like I had no desire whatsoever. She said, oh, it is so hot. And I'm like, wow, good for you. I'll avoid it as long as I can. And I did.
So you didn't have any early bad experiences or anything? You just didn't, it was just something you never got around to?
It was something that I just never got around to.
Okay.
So.
Until
you.
Yes, until you had someone a little bit adventurous to play with.
Yes.
So let that be a lesson to you fellas. Sometimes all it takes is a finger up there and a question mark.
Oh. But I have to say, you were very gentle with me too. So, being in the lifestyle, you never know how somebody's going to be when it comes to your holes. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. And one of the things, in general, I've said throughout this episode several times, it's not a pussy and you can't treat it like a pussy.
Correct. And thank goodness you don't. Because that would be scary times for me.
Now, do you ever have any blood?
I have very little, and I actually told you about it a couple times. Yeah. That when we were all done, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I was all done. And I said, "Oh, there's a little bit of blood there," but it wasn't horrible. It was very minute, and again, I think it was just had a little bit too much fun that time.
No, other than the predictable, occasionally needing to get to the bathroom reasonably quickly, you ever have any pain or negative side effects afterwards or anything like that?
I wish I could say yes, but no.
Why do you wish you could say yes? You wish you could say I didn't know how to fuck you in the ass?
Well, no, not that. But
I mean, I'm asking for scientific purposes, but I mean,
no, because I'll hear over and over and over again about how I'm an anal whore. So
Well, you're usually hearing it because you're saying it.
Because you make me say it.
No, I give you the option of saying it.
Oh, okay. And what if I don't say it?
Then you don't get my dick in your ass.
Okay. So, if I don't say it,
then I won't fuck you in the ass.
So I get punished. Aha! Okay, listeners, tell me, would that be considered punishment if I don't say it and I don't get it?
Well, I guess that's up to you to decide.
I think, we'll do a Facebook question.
But, see, the beauty of it is...
Oh, there's beauty here.
There is beauty. You gotta be a little anal whore to be disappointed by not getting the dick.
Oh, I see.
Thank you.
I meant to hide that bell before this episode.
Yeah, you mean to hide that bell before every episode. Do you honestly think we'd get 10 seconds into recording without me noticing it isn't there?
No. You're correct on that one.
In fact, I was thinking about getting actually a different size bell, because they make those in different sizes and they have different tones, and maybe we can have different bells mean different things. Love some listener feedback on that.
Yes, perhaps they'd say, no bell is good.
No one has ever said no bell is good.
I know.
Other than the initial very justifiable complaints about it being a little too loud because it was too close to the mic, everyone loves the bell.
Everyone?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Feedback.
So, are there any topics regarding butt fucking that you would like to bring up?
Well, let's see. I think I'd be interested in, we've pretty much done it always in the same position. And I don't mean to sound like, I mean...
You don't mean to sound like what? Like your natural position is on your knees with your ass in the air, and that's always how you like everything? So that's pretty much my go-to position for you, because you've fairly well explained to me that that's how you want it. Now, if you'd like to try some other positions, you got to see, at this point in our relationship, you have to notify me when you want something else. Because usually when I start giving you something else, within like 2 or 3 minutes, you're like, can I roll over?
Well, because I'm always happy with you. I have no complaints. Yeah.
All right, so you want to try anal in some different positions?
I'm interested in if other people have, and if they found it one position to be better than another, just like having, regular sex. Everybody has different favorite positions. I'd be interested in hearing, because we pretty much do it the same way all the time, and I'm just interested in other positions, because maybe... Oh,
we'll get you some other positions. Now that I've been officially notified, a correction is right, or the solution is right on the horizon.
It's not necessarily a solution. I'm just saying, well, I guess it is a solution.
Yes,
not a correction, a solution.
If you want information on getting ass fucked in different positions, I got a better way for you to get it than asking the listeners.
Really? What would that be?
Although still, obviously we would welcome feedback from the listeners and any input they might have on this topic or any other, but in this particular case, I think we can get these invaluable firsthand experience.
Oh, I'm sure we could. But, I mean, sometimes there's things out there that people never thought of and go,
Maybe I should do a contest and let the audience pick the next position you get fucked in the ass in.
Well, I don't know about that.
Oh, God.
I can just see Erin, thinking of some...
You guys should see the terror in her eyes right now. It's not even bell-worthy. She's not blushing. She's scared.
Or then there's Bradley,
I am accepting suggestions. Please feel free to email me with your suggestions on Shara's next brand new anal sex position experience. And I will, of course, be the sole judge of which one wins. But if we get more than a couple of suggestions, and I'm hoping we will, I'll pick a winner.
I don't get to vote?
No.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm submissive.
I'll tell you what you do get to do. If we try something you don't like it, I'll probably have a list. So what you do get to do is say, this one's not really working for me. Let's try a different one.
And then you'll pick the next one, too.
Well, of course I will. What do you think this is, a fucking democracy?
Well...
It's not like you're likely to dislike it anyway.
That's true.
Hung upside down off a door. It'd probably work just fine for you.
Perhaps. I like sex. What can I say?
Well, you can say that again.
I like sex. I love sex.
It's a beautiful thing.
I love sex.
So anything else you'd like to say on anal?
I think you pretty much covered it all. Now you open it up there for everybody to give suggestions.
I think this is possibly the best listener contest ever in the history of broadcasting. Well, we're not technically broadcasting. In the history of media, this might be the greatest listener contest ever.
Wow.
Maybe I'll come up with a prize. Stay tuned, because I'm not putting a time limit on this. So maybe we'll talk about this again on the next listener mail episode after I come up with a prize.
A prize, huh?
Yeah, some kind of a prize.
Can I enter?
Golden butt plug or something. I don't know.
Oh, can I enter? And don't forget to get it from our sponsor.
Yes. Well, I've been buying stuff from them for years, so I should. I'm about due to place an order.
Oh, definitely. I should help you pick some things out.
Oh, you always get to help pick things out.
I have been watching their site, and I picked out a few things.
Okay, well,
some good things, I think.
You should show me.
I'll show you.
All right, so it's about time to wrap it up here. We do have some birthdays.
We do. And the 21st, we missed Daniel Gren and Sheila.
And then June 26th, Dieter Whitmer.
And, of course, coming up for the holiday weekend is Dan Emmons.
That's right. So happy birthday, guys. And we're always happy to shout out a happy birthday, but our sole source of information is my Facebook friends list.
That's correct. I have mine, and if I see somebody of mine, but you have people on your Facebook page that I don't have, so we do the best we can to catch it all. So if we miss somebody...
You've got people that I don't have.
We do. I do.
Yeah, you do.
I do. And I have some followers on Twitter now.
Good for you.
I know. It's
you
pretty
need to
exciting.
tweet more. You can't get followers without tweeting.
I'm tweeting. I'm getting there. You had me pretty busy, and I had all that charity things that I was doing. So now those are all done, and
Oh, your charity work has only just begun.
So now I can tweet more.
Yes, the charity of JV is feeling a little neglected, so I need to play some catch up, I think.
Definitely.
All right, so thank you for joining me once again. And
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, babe.
For such a great episode.
It's that time again, and as always, we hope you had as much fun as we did. We invite you to join the conversation by posting anonymously on sexualdarkage.com, emailing jvauthorize@gmail.com, or finding Shara and myself on Facebook, Twitter, FetLife, and several other places, including our new FetLife group. You can find those through links on the website. As always, we really, really appreciate good ratings and reviews on iTunes. That does more than you think to get the show out to new listeners. Not sure exactly what we're going to be doing next time, but I'm fairly certain it's going to be entertaining. Possibly listener mail, possibly something else, and I do have some more erotica in the pipe for you guys, so Very shortly, we'll have some more audio erotica episodes as well. Until next time, this be me, JV Altheros, reminding you that sex is one of the greatest things in life, and there is always room for better.